What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the third episode of Interviewing an Olympian. I'm your host, Yul Moldauer, and today we'll actually be doing something a little different. We'll be heading over right across the street to a press conference where we will be hearing from an Olympian himself. What's up, everybody? Appreciate you guys being here. Excited to hear the questions you guys have for me. Hi, Yul. Yeah, first of all, go Avs. Playoffs are about to begin, but we just wanted to know, what are your thoughts on coaching? Yeah, no, great question. What are my thoughts on coaching? Coaching it has to be on a personal level between the athlete and the coach. The coach has to understand the athlete, and the athlete has to understand the coach. It's almost like a father and son, or father and daughter, or mom and daughter, or mom and son. It's just that type of relationship because every gymnast is so different, and everyone is going to take a correction differently. Everyone is going to take advice differently. And so, from a coaching perspective, I think if you can understand your athlete from a personal level, understand how they think, who they are, just the general basics of them, then you'll have an easier time coaching them. Another thing, though, about coaching is yes, there is a limit to how much conditioning and the yelling, well, not even yelling, but just like being hard on an athlete, because I think it's good for an athlete to go through hard times because it will make the athlete better. And it it's a very fishy. That's why I'm saying, as a coach, you have to understand your athlete, because I think you'll know the right times to be hard on them, and you'll know the right times to be light on them. And as they get older, there's the club level to professional level of workload and conditioning and rehab. So coaching sometimes can almost feel like you're learning at the same time as the gymnast, because every single body is different. But I think there are just certain basics and ground rules that every coach follows between an athlete. And it's just kind of making your own twist. If you were a gymnast, you can relate to things and maybe take away things you didn't like or implement things you did like. But at the time, I think about my coaches now at 5280, and I don't think I would want anything different the way that they coached me. And then when I got to Oklahoma, I don't think I would want anything different from the way I was coached by Mark, Steve, Taki, Josh, Chris, all those people. So I think as an athlete, it's your job to just sit there and understand that they are the coaches, they're the professionals, they've been in the sport longer. And that was my mindset. I never like to argue, I never like to talk back. I just tried to think about what they told me and just take it as like, these people are trying to help me get somewhere where I want to be. And at times, yes, it's tough. At times, yes, I'll be honest, I wanted to quit. I feel like every gymnast goes through a time that they want to quit, but it wasn't because of the coaching, it's just because of the plan, the scheduling, and your goals. And so I think coaching, it's one of the hardest jobs. That's one of the hardest jobs, I think. It's because it's a variety of things. You have so many rules now. You have the safe sport rules. You've got parents that you have to please. They're the ones spending money on their children, so you can coach them. So you have to have the results there. But I'll say this: coaching, it takes time to perfect, and it takes time for an athlete to take what that coach is saying. So, coaching, it's a hard topic, but at the end of the day, I think trust the coach. And as an athlete, they're there to make they're there to make you better. They're not there to try and hurt you or tell you mean things or tell you things you don't want to hear. They're literally trying to do their job. And again, every coach is different and every athlete is different. Right on, man. Thanks a lot. Yeah, right here. Yeah, Yul. So we wanted to know, what was the scariest skill for you growing up? Oh man, what was the scariest skill? Man, gymnastics is scary in general, but no, the scariest skill that I truly remember having a hard time doing it by myself was actually a giant on PRs. A giant. Yeah, I'm still scared of giants now. That's the thing about gymnastics. Everyone has a certain skill that they have fear of, but at one point it will just click. And sometimes even now it's scary, but you just kind of got to go for it. It's part of the sport. I'm sure a punt returner is always still scared of seeing, 10 big guys run at him where he knows he could get hit pretty hard. And if you take that mindset towards gymnastics, it's always going to be a little scary. It's always going to be a little dangerous. But if you can just keep trusting yourself and trust your coach, you'll get through anything that's scary. I wish I listened to my coach when he said, "You're fine. You can do it by yourself. Don't be scared of the giant." It wasn't the grip, it wasn't my tap. It was just I had to do it. It's just gymnastics. At one point, you just literally have to go for it, and that's another thing about gymnastics. If your coach says you have the ability to do it, then you should probably trust him and just go for it because a coach is never going to tell you something that you cannot do. So definitely a giant on P bars if that surprises anybody. Thank you. You'll appreciate it. Thank you. Hi, Yul. Just a kid from Colorado that's a Broncos fan. I wanted to know, how do you deal with a bad competition? No, that's a great question. Bad competitions, how do I deal with them? Everyone's going to have a bad competition. Everyone's going to have a bad practice. Everyone's going to have a bad day, week, year, so on. Whatever. You got to learn from them. You got to stop the emotions. You got to relax and you got to analyze and you just got to think about what were you doing or thinking at that moment that it went bad instead of just letting it overtake your thoughts where you can learn something and actually take something away. And okay, so for example, US championships last year, I fell on the floor. I haven't fallen on the floor in a while. I think going into that pass, I wasn't tight enough in my legs where I usually think about squeezing. I think I was just thinking about going through it, getting done with the routine, and I rushed it. And if I got mad and upset that maybe that fall cost me being, instead of fourth place, maybe in the top three, then maybe I wouldn't have gone to Worlds that next meet that I had to compete floor on and hit as well as I did. So always try and take something from bad, no matter how bad it sucks. Everyone goes through something that sucks, and it's never going to be easy. But what you have to do is really try and analyze and understand what was going on, and you have to be able to reset. It's just like if you fell on an event at a meet and you have the next one, you have to reset, suck it up, forget about it, and move on to the next thing because you are in the moment. You have to show that you are mentally strong and that you're capable of missing and then going at it at the next event. I think for me personally, again, I fell at Worlds 2021, my first event, rings, fell in a dismount. I had five more opportunities to try and catch up. And my whole thought process, instead of getting pissed that I fell out of World Championships in an all around finals where I had probably a good chance of medaling, I told myself, no, these next five events, I'm going to show that I can reset and that I'm a fighter and I'm going to fight until the last event. So I think you guys have to just learn something but also be able to reset and really show who you are because at the end of the day people are still watching you and you have to show what type of character you are. And are you going to show that you can give up easily and if you fall and make a mistake that it's done, or are you going to show that you're a fighter until the very last landing, until the very last competition of your career? So I think if you can look at it in that aspect and trying to show who you are and analyze things, that's how you get to the battle. Thank you. I was just wondering, what was the most nervous that you've ever been? Man, the most nervous that I've ever been, there have been countless ones, but I think one that stands out to me is actually my first NCAA gymnastics meet with Oklahoma at Rocky Mountain Open down in Colorado Springs at the Air Force. And the reason why I was so nervous was because I had an opportunity to prove to my teammates and the coaches and the university who I really was and my dedication towards the school. Oklahoma has provided opportunities and so much success, but at the time, as a freshman walking in, you had no idea how much support you're going to have. And I always say this about Oklahoma. If you want to go to a school that cares about their athletes, go to Oklahoma, because that is an athletic school, and you'll have the most support from a variety of things, whether it's tutors, mentors, coaching staff, nutritionists, fans, like just everybody in Oklahoma loves that school, and there's just a huge amount of support. And I think that's why I was so nervous, was because I knew that there were all these people behind me, and I wanted to show why I deserve to wear OU on my chest. And another thing is when you get to college, it's all about the team. Whatever you're doing, no matter if it's inside the gym, keeping up with your grades so you're um, NCAA approved to keep on competing, because there is at one point, you can't compete if your grades are bad. So there's that. There are team rules. There's all these different factors going in. Especially, my class was huge. I think we had 7 freshmen going in to a team that just won a national title. And to go into that school, there's a lot of pressure, because you want to show that you're one of those guys that can keep on winning and continue the tradition of being successful at this school. And it's not just 2015, it's throughout the whole entire OU history. They have been dominant in the top, 3 for years. Maybe they get fourth place here and there, but if you want to go to the Alabama Football School of Gymnastics, you go to Oklahoma, because they're consistent. And I think that was why I was the most nervous, just because it's such a brand that you're so proud to be part of. But then I think about my world championships, my first one in 2017. That was a different type of nerves. It was an excitement nerves. I got to finally go into an arena that was full of thousands of people. And I think that was one of the most packed worlds that I've seen today. It was from top to bottom in the Olympic Stadium in Canada. I had no idea, again, what I was walking into. And to finally go into that arena with all the lights off except for the lights on the event that you're competing on, that was different. But then looking up into the crowd and just hearing everyone roar, I was nervous, but it was a good nervous, because I wanted that moment. I wanted to feel like a football player. I wanted to feel like an NBA player or a soccer player in these packed arenas. So for me to be in that moment, I took it on as like, you know what, this is my time to show who I am as a gymnast. Um, I wanted to show the world my style of gymnastics. I wasn't putting any pressure on to win or to place. I just wanted to, finally show the world that I was here. It was after 2016 Olympic trials. I was honestly a little upset that my name wasn't even in contention for being an alternate. I think, I was young, I had no experience, but that was my year to really show that I was ready to go out onto the world stage. And then the Olympics, it's a different type of nerves. It's like everything that you've worked for is finally here in that moment. And to be honest, I wasn't that nervous. I was actually more nervous at Olympic trials, but I was actually really nervous as soon as I walked into team finals and we were starting on horse, and I knew that I had the one of the biggest jobs that you can have at that competition, going first up on horse, having to set the tone for the team. That, for me, that's a big job. And I just reminded myself of what I've been through in the NCAA. And I never actually went first on pommel horse on the pommel team in the NCAA. But I just remember that pommel horse is one of those events that if you can hit 3 for 3, you can set the tone for the rest of the meet. And if you have a miss, it kind of it can jumble things. So I knew that my job was so important, was to hit that pommel set. So honestly, the night before, the morning prior, I was going through every single hand placement of my routine. I wasn't thinking about falling. I was just thinking about every single hand placement that I had to be. But again, there are so many different types of nerves. All you have to understand that nerves are a good thing, and if you don't feel them, it's not important to you. No, thank you. You'll appreciate it. Hey, Yule. Timmy Sooner from Oklahoma Sports Magnet Pad Broadcasting. We would like to know, we see that gymnastics is not a popular sport in the USA. How do you make opportunities in this sport? Yeah, opportunities. I mean, to be honest, the way social media is nowadays and the influence that you can have on just your cell phone or YouTube or anything like that, I think there's more opportunity than you think. Luckily, there's the Bundesliga that you can go to in Germany, there's top 12, there's Italian ones. So there are actually a lot of opportunities in gymnastics. It's just it's not advertised. Once you become a professional, I'm going to skip the NCAA just because of the NIL and all of that. But once you become a professional, you can actually get a great amount of sponsors. You can go internationally and compete for the clubs that will pay you per competition, pay for your travel, pay for your hotel, give you per diem during the week. And it is more than an opportunity. It is a blessing. You get to go to these countries, you get to meet these amazing people that train there, and you get to just adapt gymnastics over in Europe. And in Europe, they love gymnastics. I'll tell you this, every competition I've been to, it's been in arenas or high school arenas, and they are packed. People are standing there. There's concession stands of not just like nachos and soda, but like actual baked cakes that people bring in. And after the competition, there's a huge banquet where everyone gets to meet and greet and talk and really get to know each other on a personal level. But as marketing goes, gymnastics is one of the most watched sport during the Olympic time period. That is true. The media is taking over the world. And I think as you see the NCAA grow in gymnastics, it's just going to build more and more opportunities. I think it's just up to you as an individual. How much can you take on your individual training plan, and how willing are you to put yourself out there? So I think as long as you're dedicated and you put yourself out there and you use the resources that are here in the world today, just like the media, then anything is possible. You just have to have that drive and heart for it. You just can't be lazy. Thanks again, you'll really appreciate it. Oh man, did we run up on time? Well, no, appreciate you guys being here. Thank you all for the amazing questions, and hope to see you guys soon. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in. Sorry that we ran out of time. Yule Moldauer is actually preparing for Pacific Rim Championships, which will be happening later this month in April down in Cali, Colombia. So it's his last international competition before U.S. Championships and Olympic trials. So, the time is clicking for Paris 24. So I know that he's busy in training, so we don't want to take too much of his time. So thank you guys for tuning in.